Since 2003, this is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's edition of the Sports Source. We appreciate you spending your time with us. We'll try very hard not to waste it today. Tennessee lost game one of their Super Regional at Arkansas yesterday. That means they face a do-or-die game two. We'll talk about yesterday's game, and we will preview today's game. Talk about baseball, in other words. And then we got the NCAA has fun. Well, the NCAA, whatever's the College Sports Commission, whatever you want to call this thing moving forward. The House settlement has finally passed, as I'm sure you know as a sports fan. We'll talk about all the changes that could come about with that. And boy, there's already some warning signs that are out there, some warning shots being fired by different publications, different ADs. We've got some quotes for you that will scare your pants off. We'll also talk about Zakai Ziegler, who thought he was just fighting the NCAA to get another year of eligibility, and then the Department of Justice jumped into it. So we'll talk about that. And also a little later in the show, we'll have a review of Covenant Park. If you haven't been to Knoxville's Covenant Park, the new home of the Smokies, we'll give you our insights on it a little bit later in today's show. Let's get into this thing. First segment of our program brought to you by Junk Be Gone. Just about every year I have Junk Be Gone out to my house. I run a business, and that means a whole lot of boxes. They brought a dumpster a couple of weeks ago, and all those packing boxes and stuff that I've just built up over a year, they took them, hauled them off, took care of it in an environmentally friendly way. Junk Be Gone, folks. I believe in these folks. I use them for spring cleaning. I use them to get rid of packing materials. You can too, and I recommend you do. Junkbegone.biz. They are the originals, the originators, whichever way you want to go. They've been doing it the longest and doing it the best. Junkbegone.biz. All right, let's welcome in the first wave of panelists. We still have a couple of guys waiting over there in the dugout. Right over here, Chuck Cavaleris is back with us. Chuck, thanks for being here.
Thank you, John.
Will West is right there. We got Will Heflin, former Vol baseball player, who, of course, is on the Sports Source Digital Network with us. And right there, Vince Ferrara, Vince from 99.1 The Sports Animal, along with Will West. All right. Thanks to all of you for joining us and being here today. As I mentioned, Tennessee dropped game one of their Super Regional yesterday at Arkansas, 4-3. Andrew Fisher hit a solo shot in the ninth to make it interesting. But in terms of Tennessee's bats, 2 home runs, okay, not bad. It's only bad if those are your only 2 hits on the day. 2 hits, that is it. You look at where this team has been, where it's going, 2 hits ain't going to get it done, Will. Thoughts on yesterday's game?
No, 2 hits is not going to get it done, but at the risk of sounding too simpleton, maybe
you fit in on this show.
Not wanting to overanalyze. We ran into a really good pitcher yesterday.
Yeah.
Zach Root was unbelievably dialed in. Vol Nation's new favorite player, Zach Root.
Yeah.
And you go into that game having not thrown Liam Doyle, and you'd like to get a win. And Marcus Phillips and the pitching staff, kept him at bay.
Yeah.
I think if you say before the game 4 runs for Arkansas, you're going to sign up for that any day of the week because that's a phenomenal lineup. Overall, a pretty good game, so kind of a tip-your-cap moment, in my opinion.
So not a panic, just kind of dust it off and come back at them today.
Oddly feel good
All
at
right.
the end of the day.
Vince, your take.
Well, certainly Root was the biggest reason why Arkansas got game one. He was fantastic, had all 4 of his pitches working, and he attacked Tennessee at the area that is what the scouts tell you. And that's especially with 2 strikes, fastballs up in the zone. Tennessee sometimes will chase those. Now, when Tennessee has discipline, they can lay off of those. And they didn't work the count as much as we've seen them in a lot of other games, right? You didn't see a lot of foul balls. In the regional, you'd have Levi Clark and Manny Marin and guys just fouling off a lot of pitches, and you know what that can do to a pitcher when he's not able to land his pitches or he thinks he's got the out pitch, and Tennessee spoils it. Very aggressive early on, a really quick 1-2-3 inning, I think, gave Root some confidence. And then, oddly enough, Andrew Fisher, who's gotten the better of opponents and pitchers with the mental aspect of the game, I think he amped up Root even more late in the game. Yes. He got to 99, which he admitted in the postgame he has never thrown a pitch 99 miles per hour. So a lot of times that works in Fisher's favor in that situation. It only took Root to another level.
Well, go ahead.
I thought with Zach Root, you couldn't get him out of the windup. I mean, when he did go to the stretch, that's when Tennessee hit a 2-run homer. And I think Tony Vitello may have said this, in the postgame.
Got to get guys on base.
Right. Because, I mean, with him being able to play sweeper, I mean, the left-handed hitters, isn't that about the hardest thing to do in sports is a left-handed hitter hit one of those pitches that's almost off the plate? You're lucky to foul it off. I don't feel good because 79% of the Game 1 winners, Super Regional, going to Omaha. So you're already behind the 8 ball. And what I have down here, Arkansas is 29-2 when they score first. They're 37-4 at home. So to me, the pressure is really going to be on Tennessee to come out strong today.
Yeah, look, I think for Tennessee, like you looking at this game statistically, styles make fights, right? Arkansas, not a lot of home runs, ton of total bases. So what's that mean? They manufacture runs. Tennessee, a lot of home runs, not as many total bases. Tennessee's, I don't know with Arkansas's pitching staff that the home runs are going to come for Tennessee like they have against some opponents. So I think you're going to need to put some guys on base. You're going to need to put some balls in play, and it may not be the way that you normally win. But I think to be able to get through this specific Arkansas team to get to Omaha, that might be the strategy you have to go with.
How much does Tony Vitello get in there game to game? Is he looking at this one and basically getting there with the guys and just calming them down, do what we do? Or is he coming in and stressing different things today with the season on the line? Is he going to approach this game differently? Is he going to get more hands-on than he normally would? Or is he hands-on to begin with? You've been in the locker room with Tony Vitello. What's he doing today?
At this point in the year, he's really, really hands-off, completely letting the team manage themselves. Now, you've got to be strategic sometimes, and this is a pitcher that they've seen before, so maybe a couple reminders here and there. But at this point in the year, you've got to be who you are. And so, to touch on the 79% move on, that's absolutely why you want to win Game 1, right? Yeah. But if you are able to go to Game 3, so if you can get it today, it's a totally different number because that 79% includes all the sweeps. So really, I mean, without sounding too obvious, today is your only chance.
Yeah.
You get it to tomorrow, and anything can happen.
It's a little. I mean, Tennessee just went through one of these things with Wake Forest. When Wake Forest got through the first elimination game, brought it to a winner-takes-all game, and kind of put the pressure back on the home team a little bit. But Tennessee marched on through. Didn't bother them. If you do win today and force a Game 3, does the pressure go back on Arkansas a little bit?
100%.
Yeah. Yes. The thing is that Tennessee just doesn't have much history of success. It's been a long time since they've won 2 out of 3 at Arkansas. So you have
ended the regular season with a series down there and lost 2 out of 3.
Right. I mean, even under Tony Vitello, with the program being at such a high level that it is, Arkansas has been kind of the one program that's given them the most difficulty. So to think about winning back-to-back games against Arkansas, just the history is not there. But I do think because Arkansas has underachieved in some postseasons that it will put some pressure on them. Then it's a matter of what's the pitching left in that third game.
You could tell yesterday the stadium wanted to be tight. There was tension in there at moments. Without the traffic, only having 2 hits, Tennessee wasn't able to really put a whole lot of pressure on them. Mm-hmm. But there were moments where it was eerily quiet in there. So I think if you're able to get it to Game 3, then you certainly have that to
the announcers made a good point late in the game where it was not wild with 1 out. It was only after that second out that it's like, okay, now we can kind of breathe a little bit. Yeah, that's a great point.
Didn't we all kind of think this is the way this was going to play out through Game 1, right? Tennessee was going to throw, before Vitello let us know, Tennessee was going to throw Marcus Phillips. Tennessee was probably going to lose Game 1. Then you go to Liam Doyle on Sunday, and if he can mow people down like Liam Doyle often does, you get to Game 3, and then everything's on the table. Yeah. So even though you lose Game 1, you want to win Game 1. The stats Chuck just threw out.
Right.
I think we all kind of expected this to be where Tennessee is right now, heading into this Liam Doyle game on Sunday.
Right. And Vince, do you know the matchup Tony Vitello against Dave Van Horn? Do you know what that record is?
Yeah,
2-9, I believe.
Yeah, it's the series. I think I think he's won 2 games.
Yeah, I think it's 2-12.
Yeah.
I think Dave Van Horn is 12-2 against Tony Vitello. If that number doesn't change, Tennessee does not go to college World Series.
Head coach versus former assistant. So far, the head coach has gotten the best of it.
Exactly.
All right.
One caveat being 4 of the series have been in Baum. They've only
Yeah.
played in Lindsey Nelson once, which is kind of due to the schedule mix-up. So
I thought they embalmed like they had been embalmed like at a mortuary.
I don't know, BAUM.
The stadium.
When we come back, let's take a look at today's game 2 between the Vols and the Hogs. Come on back. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by AG Heins Company. Get down there this week. If you've got a building project, my goodness, there's only one place in town to start it. It's AG Heins Company. And that's the same thing your grandfather and your great-grandfather said. They've been around for 105 years, right on Hines Street from day one. You can get down and find them in downtown Knoxville. They'll take great care of you. They have the materials that are energy efficient and cost efficient. They'll take care of you. You'll do great by AG Heins Company, and they'll do great by you. Get down there, agheins.com, if you want to learn more. All right, and back with Will Heflin, former Vol baseball player, and, of course, Vince Ferrara right here. Vince, I'm going to start with you. It's do or die. Thoughts on today's game? Obviously, other than hit the ball, what else has to work for him today?
Well, I'm done. We can go to Will.
That's
it. Obviously, it starts. Liam Doyle needs to be special. Want to see him be confident, but not try to be emotional. And, we saw his game after his starting SEC tournament after Arkansas. Tony Vitello admitted that he tried to get a shutout back in the Arkansas game and that game. So you want him to control it. I don't think he can have the energy and emotion that he did to close out that game. I think that was a special situation in Game 7 of the regional. So you want to see him locked in and confident and get those swing and misses on his fastball. So he's got to be special, first of all. They got to string some hits together. You can't just have the home run. When Tennessee is really good offensively, they can do both. They can string hits together and put pressure and then get that big inning, but then also hit a home run to really separate from teams, and then it has a demoralizing effect on you. So want to see them foul pitches off, get some hits together, draw some walks as well. And bring up that pitch count on Arkansas. Gage Wood is a really good starter, and he won against Tennessee in the end of the regular season. So it will be a really good matchup, but I think Liam Doyle, it starts with Doyle, and then the offense has to string some hits together.
I totally agree, and the mentality you have as a starter, the uptick in emotions because it is the postseason, it is super regional. You'd like to see him at least harness it and maybe save the outburst for later in the game, maybe his last out when he knows he's coming out, reaches a pitch count, something like that. The other thing is with some of the tensions that happened yesterday, whether or not that Tennessee started that is irregardless. Yeah. There may be a discussion before the game of some sort of warning pregame, which would be really unfortunate. But also the last thing Tennessee needs is to take the focus away from what's actually happening on the field. Yep. You could tell very early on that the crew is hyper-focused, and Tennessee is going to be walking a thin line from game one. And whether that's fair or not is beside the point. That's what they're going to deal with, especially with Liam Doyle on the mound, because with social media and everything, everybody knows how he is. And that's what makes him great, but it's a risk. Last thing you need is Liam Doyle getting ejected in the third or fourth inning.
Well, that's the downside to being that kind of a team, that you get that kind of reputation. The umps are watching it. They know what kind of team you are, what your reputation is. Even if it goes back 3 years, they know, okay. You also fire up the other guys. I mean, has anybody seen Zach Root lose his mind like he did yesterday? Because that was pretty close to it.
And I've never
the
seen
guy's
him up to
basically
99.
ripping his jersey off to pull him off the field.
Right.
There's something about playing a team that has that reputation that now we're going to do that. So you kind of ask for a little bit of that stuff. My question, you've got Cannon Beeples back in there today. He was suspended from the first game. How big of a difference is that going to be to have his bat back in the lineup and have him back behind home plate?
As a huge Cannon Peoples fan, a big difference. He's a switch hitter, so he's a matchup, regardless of who's on the mound. So that's a left-handed bat for today, with Wood being a right-handed guy. He's caught Liam Doyle all year long, so that comfort factor is back there. And you talk about good at-bats. guys working counts, fouling pitches off, and certainly somebody who has the knack for the big swing. Candy Peoples, I don't know if there's a more valuable 8-hole in the country, but maybe I'm just too biased towards Peoples.
No, I agree, because when he's in the lineup, the way they've been swinging the bats since the stretch after the Arkansas series, there wasn't an out in the lineup. Stone Lawless, I think, is going to be great, but he's struggled in SEC play, and you saw that in that game. So now they're 1 through 9 where you can't get any sort of rest in the lineup. Stone Lawless also has been hitting the ball really well for a while now and coming through with some really clutch hits. So the defensive aspect of it, he's obviously got to be careful from the emotional standpoint too, because he was the one that started a lot of this with him getting ejected, and then Tony Vitello pointing it out. Oh, really? So he barely said anything at home plate, and then that guy goes nuts, and then you're giving us a warning as well. So, but you're right. It doesn't matter fair or not. That's the situation that they're in. But no, I think Stone Lawless can definitely help. And Arkansas doesn't run a ton, but they're selective, and they do have a couple of guys, including Davalon at the top of the order, that will take advantage of it if you're giving them free bases. Marcus Phillips did it. Hopefully Liam Doyle isn't offering those free bases.
I was just going to say here to wrap this one up, you and AJ Simcox and Andrew Lee, who all three were on the show last week, but you guys get together each week and do a show we call Hardball on Sports Source Digital Network. And this past week, before all of this, you guys discussed for a little bit the need for baseball players to start toning it down a little. It does seem like it's ramping up everywhere, and you don't want to see a team blow their chance at Omaha. Any team anywhere blow their chance at Omaha because they couldn't keep their cool. Somehow that has become the new thing. And the other part of it, umps need to also understand the difference between a little emotion and some kid that's out of control. There's a difference there, and you can't treat them all the same. But if you want to see that, you can find that Hardball. It's the last episode these guys put up. It's excellent. It certainly matters. Looking at what we saw yesterday with Tennessee getting the warning after after Arkansas's guy went nuts. So it's worth you guys checking these guys out. And you will be joining Andrew Lee Tuesday. AJ somewhere on the beach, but you guys are going to be there Tuesday. You'll find that Sports Source Digital Network. Vince, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question for Will. Get to game 3, AJ Russell get the ball first? I mean, or depend on what happens today?
In a perfect world, Tennessee offense kind of explodes. Maybe you feel like you were saving them for today,
right,
and you can have a comfortable lead. There is no game 3 if you don't win today, and how we would be absolutely kicking ourselves and probably giving Tony Vitello criticism if they lost today and did not use AJ Russell. So would love to get to game 3 and not use AJ Russell, but you can't do that. You will have a fresh Arvidsson.
Right.
Didn't throw a whole lot yesterday. Tanner Franklin has emerged. Krenzel and Loy only threw to one hitter each. You're in an okay spot considering the circumstances. You need length from Liam Doyle today. Otherwise, you're asking for a tall uphill battle going into game 3 if you do even get there.
Snead's another one they haven't used, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, okay. I'm sorry. It is game 3. It's part of the preview.
It's excellent. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, Will, for always coming in here. We'll see you Tuesday on the Sports Source Digital Network.
Yeah, enjoy coming in. Thanks,
All
guys.
right. When we come back, the House settlement has finally passed. So what's the next nightmare down the pike? We'll discuss that. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our show brought to you by the River Cove Campground. Folks, it's the nicest campground and RV park anywhere in East Tennessee, heck, anywhere in the state. Uncle Jim's is right on the Little Pigeon River. They got a dog park, picnic tables, fire pits, charcoal grills, golf carts, coin laundry, bathhouse, stocked camp store, playground, catch my breath, and much, much more. And they're only minutes away from all the attractions in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. Folks, rivercovecampground.com. You better get there and get there quick because the slots are filling up. If you're wanting to book for the summer or for the fall, do it now. rivercovecampground.com. All right. Welcome in the next two members of our panel right here. Jimmy Heins is with us, and Bob Hodge is right there. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Good morning.
And Will West is back, of course. The House settlement has finally passed, finally. The days of paying players has finally arrived in college sports. Not just NIL, but the schools are going to be striking checks to a maximum amount of $20.5 million is the cap. That's going to go up each year, by the way. But the flip side is there will now be rules about what NIL is. If it's a company paying a player to do some advertising for them, that's going to be okay. If, however, you just have, say, a club and you say, give us a membership fee and we'll just hand it to the players, that is not okay under this rules. And there are a lot of schools, including Tennessee, who do that. So it's going to be a new twist on what NIL has been, because now somebody's going to be sitting there grading it. The College Sports Commission is handling all that. But first things first, will we make it to football season? Will we make it to September 1st without someone filing a lawsuit saying, this is a salary cap that wasn't collectively bargained, you're just putting an illegal cap on this? Will we make it to football season before the first lawsuit is filed?
No. We won't make it till Friday and before the first lawsuit, because it is illegal, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this violates U.S. antitrust law. Now, we will make it to football season without an injunction from a judge saying they have to stop doing this. I do believe that. So, and even Greg Sankey said somewhat recently in a panel that this isn't the destination, but they're hoping that it's a chapter and a step to get them to a framework that they can eventually collectively bargain and things like that. So, no, we won't make it till, again, not Friday. I don't think we make it through close of business Monday without a lawsuit being filed, because, again, it is illegal. But at the same time, it's only illegal if a judge says you can keep doing the illegal thing until a judge tells you you have to stop doing the illegal thing.
Gentlemen,
I think we'll make it to Saturday. Go ahead.
I'll make it all the way to Saturday.
I don't think we'll make it to the end of the show.
The Athletic had an interesting comment. Let me before I get to you guys, let me put this comment up here. The Athletic has a warning. So they wrote, they spoke to someone who's a personnel director at a Power 4 school. If you tell a booster or business owner they can't give a star player $2 million, there will be lawsuits. There's no enforcing this. Fair market value, F Deloitte. This is going to get even crazier. Deloitte is the accounting firm who's kind of been hired to bring all this stuff under one roof. So doesn't sound like the people who actually put this thing together believe it's going to last. As Will said, everybody seems to know maybe it's just kind of funneling people in the right direction to where we can then go from there to a good spot. This is, say, Missouri. If Lewis and Clark are on their way to Oregon, you've now arrived halfway through, but you've still got a ways to go. Your thoughts on this and what's next? Where does this go from here?
Seriously, I don't think there will be a lawsuit as quickly as has been mentioned, because I think when that starts is when schools say, we're going to give 75% to football, 15% to men's basketball, and we're not going to give much to women's sports. That's when I think you'll start seeing that. And I don't know when they're going to announce that. Some schools have already said we're going to have six categories. Football, men's, women's, basketball, baseball, softball, and all other sports. Okay. So
all other sports that's going to be $0.
Yes.
And so possibly.
I'd say at most places it'll be $0.
So that's when you're going to start, I think, seeing the lawsuits. So I think that's going to come a little bit later. I don't think everybody's going to announce right now what their percentage is going to be.
Right.
And you've got some folks that are behind Title IX that say you can't do this. You have to give, I'm not going to say an equal amount, but you're going to have to pony up to pay in some women's sports. And then if you take away from football, so the football players are going to say, hey, we bring in 75% of the revenue. That's when I think you're going to start seeing them. So I'm going to go really a little bit later. I'm thinking you're probably going to get to August.
I think when you first get to a kid who says when the schools tell him we can't give you X, we've hit our cap, I think that guy's going to get a lawyer. Somebody's going to get a lawyer and say, wait a second,
Right.
They can't pay me what I'm worth because of this arbitrary cap you guys came up with and nobody bargained it. That's not good. So we could take your pick of what actually starts the first lawsuit. Point is, there are going to be many different things that cause lawsuits. Bob Hodge, your thoughts on all that?
I'm going to disagree with Jimmy. I think they will come quicker.
Okay.
I think there's probably somebody out there. There was a couple of things that struck me from this agreement. One was the NIL clearinghouse that they set up. Okay, you got an NIL over a certain amount. We're going to look at it, make sure everything's on the up and up. The low dollar figure to get you in the clearinghouse shocked me. $600. I mean, everybody in America is going to be in that clearinghouse.
How big's the employment staff at the clearinghouse?
Exactly.
Well, also a thing
Which
that
goes
hurts the
back to the old
SEC.
NCAA clearinghouse.
With it comes from a publicly traded company, it doesn't go through the clearinghouse. The Big Ten gets a larger percentage of their money from publicly traded companies and executives of publicly traded companies. The SEC more from private companies. So this is a place where it's going to become inequitable as well, because if it's a publicly traded company, it doesn't go through the clearinghouse.
You're also counting on all of these, Bob, I'll throw it back to you and let you finish. You're also counting on all of these players and their companies that are paying them being honest about what they're getting paid.
Sure.
He's paying me $1,000 and he's actually going to check for $10,000. Who's to know?
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you, they got an enforcement staff who's going to go around and check bank records? That seems pretty out there. But you think somebody isn't going to try that?
I think the NIL thing, and then I think I read a story in another newspaper at another university up north, and they are going to fund 5 sports. And they said, okay, here's the sports. I just think that all those other kids that are there on scholarship, are they going to discontinue the other sports? No,
That's already started.
We're still going to have, and that started years and years ago. But I just see everything in this screams lawsuit.
I forget who it was. It was UTEP, UCLA, it was some 4 letters, maybe one UConn, that's 5 letters. But it was a 4-letter UTSA. Somebody already went ahead and killed their women's tennis program preparing for this.
It's like UNLV.
Yeah, maybe it was UNLV. But it's like, we can't afford you. And I think eventually you're going to get fewer and fewer of those on campus, unless, I was talking to somebody before the show, they said, well, they can do like high schools. They can go out and have the parents sell candy bars.
Yeah. Well, and then is that NIL money? And if you sell more than $600 worth of candy bars,
Is it
you
legit?
go to a
Do you have to
clearinghouse.
go to Deloitte? No, the other side is this. What you brought back by doing this is the bag man. Because that's what you're going to see is boosters are going to funnel through the church, the nonprofit, the way that they used to funnel money to people, so it doesn't end up becoming an NIL deal or part of the revenue sharing. Texas is going to get around this. Michigan and Ohio State are going to get around this. Tennessee is going to get around this. And it'll be right back to the bag man getting money somehow, some way to the family that is not included in a business deal.
Here's a quick thing. If you're a private company and you're signing somebody up on an NIL deal, do you have to divulge to the NCAA how much you're paying them?
See, that's just
Or the CSC.
We're not doing it now.
No,
we
it
don't.
would be-
We're guessing on some of these.
right.
Yep.
They're not.
Yeah.
Spire's not publicizing any of this. UT's not publicizing what these kids are making.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I'm getting at is who's to say, oh no, he's got a $500 a month deal. Wait a second, $500. Can we see his bank? Heck no, you can't get into his bank account. So how do you know 500 isn't 5,000?
Yeah.
So
And is an NIL deal going to actually be something that the player has to participate in?
well, that's the
Because you can't just sit
That's
back
the new
now
rule,
and supposedly,
supposedly.
okay, I'm going to hand you all this money just to say I'm handing you all this money.
No.
Okay.
it has to be legitimate advertising type work for a company.
Right.
So.
No.
All right. When we come back, how much do you know about the one man who'll now be the lawmaker, the lawgiver? We'll talk about the new CEO of the College Sports Commission. Get used to that. You're going to be hearing a lot of it. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment is brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. There are a lot of critters that want to ruin your summer fun. Ants, ants drive me crazy. I love having Southeast out there, Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Kill all the ants. Mosquitoes in your backyard. Let's just say you want to have one big event out in your backyard. Somebody's getting married or something. You don't want the mosquitoes tearing it up. They do one-time treatments, but they do treatments that take care of you all summer long. Southeast Termite and Pest Control, not to mention the fact, I just use them for pest control. They keep all the little bugs that people don't want in their home out of my home. They'll do the same for you. Good company. SoutheastTermite.com to learn more. Okay, so the new College Sports Commission has already hired a man from Major League Baseball to be the new CEO, Brian Seeley. The CSC put out a statement immediately from him saying, I look forward to implementing a system that prioritizes fairness, integrity, and opportunity while preserving the values that make college sports unique. Now, for years, I have warned people that When you get rid of the NCAA, everybody's like, get rid of the NCAA, hate the NCAA. You're just going to have a new rule book. You're going to have a new rule book, and somebody else is going to be making the laws, and they're going to be enforcing it, and you're not going to like them any better. Meet the guy you're not going to like any better. ESPN had a comment about Sealy. Take a look at this comment. The CEO of college sports' new enforcement organization, the College Sports Commission, will have the final say in doling out punishments and deciding when rules have been violated, according to sources, a level of singular power that never existed during the NCAA's era of struggling to enforce its own rules. So you basically got a dictator. Okay, Bob, people going to like this guy? We got rid of the NCAA. They're going to like this?
I think they're going to like it a lot.
Okay.
As long as he's hitting Auburn, Alabama, Florida. As soon as he hits Tennessee, he's a know-nothing jerk.
He'll be sued.
He hits them. Yeah. He's a well-educated man. He hits you, Dad, jerks from Princeton and Harvard. We don't need these Yankees down here telling us what. It is going to be the exact same thing that it was. And what really surprised me was all this goes into effect July the 1st.
Yeah.
I mean, so in 3 weeks, we go from literally nothing to 100 miles per hour. And so I'm anxious to see when this thing rolls around July 1st, is it a rule book that's this thick? Is it a rule book that's this thick? Is it a rule book that's, hey, okay, guys, we're going to make it simple?
That's where it'll start, but it'll wind up the same way the NCAA's did, because you just talked about it in that
give them a
last
hot
segment.
dog, but don't put chili on that hot dog.
Yeah, and people think that's silly, but okay, if I don't have a rule there about hot dogs and chili, then you're just going to give them steak after steak.
So no, it will be exactly where the NCAA will.
Chuck, your thoughts on this?
Well, I think a lot of us, and as a fan, right, knew there needed to be a change. We kept hearing Nick Saban and others saying it's not sustainable the way the system was. Like you guys, the more I hear about this, I don't know how much different or how much better it's going to be. One thing I read in the fine print is if there is something that comes up before our one guy, they hope to resolve it in 45 days. So, well, good luck with that too. But, you know, I think it's kind of like wait and see. We know there's going to be a lot of things come up, and how they're going to handle them. Is there going to be any bias by how they handle things?
What sport did he come from?
Baseball.
Yeah, which is the worst run sport in American professional athletics right now? Baseball. They can't run a luxury tax. They can't run a salary cap. They don't know how to do a television deal. So you got the guy from the most incompetent place in American sports to be the head of all college sports to try to add some competency. I mean, what are we doing there? Why would we think that's going to work?
Here's an interesting point on this, that it ties back to what Tennessee was threatened with being thrown out of the SEC for. The idea that you've got this one guy who can close it and he's got power like no other, it's 45 days, it's done. Part of this is that agreement that all the schools are supposed to sign, that Tennessee, they were like, I don't know if we're going to do this, we got this state law, and then they went, yeah, we're going to sign it. That says we won't take you to court, we won't sue you when you hammer us, we won't do anything. That whole agreement is supposed to be by your command, my liege. You are supposed to bend the knee. First school that gets hammered, they're taking it straight to court, even though they're not supposed to. Guarantee you.
No, I think they'll probably be able to work. Oh, we were coerced. We didn't want to do this, but we were told we'd get thrown out of our conference.
Right.
And the other thing, he's got a committee made up of athletic directors from the 4 power conferences. Okay.
Vandy, Northwestern, Stanford, and is there a good
but there's
academic
schools, there's Division I schools that aren't part.
I'm just joking.
So how does the bias work in that way?
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, here's one for Tennessee fans to chew on. He knew the Big Ten commissioner when they both worked for Major League Baseball. So you got a little bit of bias right there before he even sets down. Yeah. He hadn't even hung his shingle out, and he's already biased.
Yeah. Jimmy?
I'm Willie Raincloud on this one. I don't see a really good resolution to this.
No.
I think this is going to continue to be a problem. I do think the concept of collective bargaining is what they need to go to. How do you get there? The student athletes don't want to be employees. So you're going to make them be employees.
Yeah, I think that's what you do. I don't think you can't make me an employee. Well, then you don't, because you're right, I can't.
Then you
so
don't
you
have
don't
a seat
play
at the table. Right.
You don't play, you just don't play sports. Bye.
And the hard thing about this is, so we talk about, why don't they do a salary cap like the NFL, the NHL, the NBA? All of those are dealing with a singular sport. In college athletics, you're dealing with 40-something sports.
And every school is different.
And 5-6
Yeah.
times the amount of schools, which
That's
makes
right.
it harder too.
It does. So it's going to be
There's
hard to
32
get
NFL
there.
teams. How many colleges are you dealing
And
with?
here's the last thing I'd say, John. What are going to be the first sports to be cut because of all this stuff, too?
Depends on where you are.
You're right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then who are going to be the assistant coaches? Who's going to be the support staff? Who's going to have to raise ticket prices even more of a talent fee?
I would think, my guess is Tennessee's, you're going to see, well, I don't know that they'll be talking about it, but I'm going to guess they're going to be pulling in their support staff. Not in terms of football. Now they finally got on board and now they got 8,000 football coaches. I'm talking about,
Yeah.
I think you're going to have, if there's somebody doing a job over there, you're not going to have somebody that replaces that guy that's doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs. I think you're going to start seeing all these athletic departments start to tighten the belt a little bit, and you won't have 56 athletic directors.
Right.
And I think they're going to funnel more money toward the revenue share. But where this whole thing goes, I just, you got to make them employees. That's the only way this survives is eventually it will be pro sports. That's it. And I don't know how you get there, but I think that's the only way to end this. Now, it may be 10, heck, may not be in my lifetime, but I think that's where it's going. All right. When we come back, ESPN's computers, you say ESPN doesn't love the Vols. Their computer programmers do, because the ESPN FBI system puts Tennessee as a top 10 national championship contender this fall. We'll talk about that, and the ESPN writer who says, no, they're not that good. Come on back, we'll debate both. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. If you're boat shopping and you're not sure what you're looking for, it's like you want a fishing boat, but the wife wants a pontoon boat. Kids, they want to ski. Well, what do? You go to Madisonville Marine. Joe Special and his team, their goal isn't just to sell you a boat, it's to sell you the right boat. They'll work with you to figure out which boat will serve the needs of you and your family the best. And the reason they want to do that and take care of you is because the next time you need a boat 20 years down the road, you're going to go back to Madisonville Marine. This is a place that legitimately has your best interest in mind. They want you in the boat that makes you happiest. Madisonville Marine, Highway 411 North in Madisonville, madmarine.com to learn more. All right, take a look here. ESPN's FPI. Now, you've known I've laughed at the Football Power Index for years. They've had some bizarro digits over the decades. But they came out with their top 10 national title odds this week. And you see Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, and then Alabama and Penn State round out the top 5. Then you got Oregon, Clemson, Miami, Notre Dame, Tennessee. Tennessee, a 2.3% chance of winning the championship, but when Texas is number 1 with a 22% chance, suddenly 2% doesn't look bad. Number 10 in the nation. Now, Mark Schlabach, longtime writer for ESPN, he took issue with that. His take, they asked him, who do you disagree with? He says, given what transpired at Tennessee in the spring, I'm not sure the Volunteers are a top 25 team heading into the season, let alone one that should be ranked number 10. I didn't have the Volunteers ranked in my latest way too early top 25. I could see the Vols going one of 2 ways after quarterback Nico Iamaleava up and left for UCLA. The Vols are going to be better off with quarterback Joey Aguilar and his teammates will rally around him, or Aguilar's leap from Appalachian State to the SEC is too high. Vols were already facing an uphill climb on offense, in my opinion, after SEC leading rusher Dylan Sampson departed along with 3 of the team's top receivers. Let's see, who am I starting with? Jimmy starts with this one. Jimmy, are you going with man or machine here? Who's closer to correct? Schlabach, who says, I don't even think they're top 25, or the computers who say they're the 10th best championship odds in the country?
I'm going with Schlabach. Now, I'll differ from him. I do think they're top 25, but they're not top 10. Part of my argument, he left out one part, which he could have added. They've also lost 4 starting offensive linemen.
Right.
There is not
Probably
a position.
bigger than the other things he mentioned.
I don't think there's a position group on Tennessee's team that is better in 2025 than it was in 2024, with maybe one exception, maybe at linebacker. That's it. I don't see him better at receiver, running back, quarterback, any other position you want to pick. So I don't know how you are going to be a top 10 team with that. So I think Tennessee is I think they're 8-4, and I think they're going to be ranked about number 20 in the country.
Vincenzo Ferrara, where are you going?
I totally agree. They should be a top 25 team, but a lot closer to being out than number 10, in my opinion. And Jimmy outlined a lot of the big reasons. And, look, the FPI, you've obviously criticized it before. Yeah. It takes into account productivity. And there's production numbers for Joey Aguilar at App State. Plus, it takes into effect recruiting. And it is projective as well. So, those are all things that, can really vary, but they are based on numbers. The eye test and the reality of the roster tells me they're in the lower end of the top 25, so I would lean towards Schleybaugh.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they'd be around 20, and I think I've seen them that in one of the polls. Here's one of the things I saw, it kind of what Jimmy said, in terms of returning production. I saw Tennessee ranks 58th in the country with 58%. Well, number one is Clemson with 86%. That is a pretty big gap you're looking at, and it speaks to, and some of the guys you got coming back, what have they done? How many SEC starts have you got on your returning lineup, left tackle? And then you start going through the offense, there's not that many that have played one down in the SEC as a starter.
Yeah. You going with the computer chips or the human brain?
I'm going with the dude.
You're a humanist.
Yes,
You're a fan of man.
Yes, I am. And the sad thing is, AI heard me say it and will kill me.
Yeah, that's right.
When it comes to life. But no, I don't think Tennessee looks like a top 10 team right now. And here's the deal. Chuck, Jimmy, everybody's made the point. Who knows? You might have some really good players that we haven't seen play yet. Yep. But that's just it. We haven't seen them play yet. So I'm going with Schleybaugh.
All right, very good. When we come back, does ESPN expect too much from the Vols offense? We'll look at what the FPI says about the offense and the defense, where they rank them. And we'll discuss that a little bit, plus some interesting numbers about last year's offense that could influence your answer on this year's offense. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Hearthside Bank. Folks, just an absolute tremendous place to do your banking anywhere from Southeast Kentucky down through Southeast Tennessee. If you're making plans for a child's college fund, if you're trying to look down the road toward your own retirement, if you've got designs on a dream home, Hearthside Bank has the team to help you build a smart plan and then work with you every step of the way on that plan until you reach your financial goal. Visit hearthsidebank.com today. I can't say enough good things about these folks. They're also the people that are bringing you the Sports Source Digital Network, which is up to 500,000 views and 25,000 watch hours already. So I thank them and I thank you for that. Check out Sports Source Digital Network on YouTube. It is free. All right, let's get into this and show you the numbers here. I referenced these in the tease. On the left is where FPI ranks the offenses, and they have Tennessee as the 12th best offense in the country. On defense, they have Tennessee as the 8th best defense in the country. So, I'll start with Bob. Too high, too low? You feel good about where they're
right.
Or just right. On the offense?
On the offense,
12th.
I'm going to say they're too high.
Okay.
Because I just think you've got too many unknowns out there to be able to say, yeah, that offense. And the last 2 years, despite the fact you had really good production last year from Dylan Sampson, who kind of carried you, the offense hasn't looked like the, quote, Heupel offense. So for right now, I would say that is too high.
Would it surprise you if I told you that last year's Tennessee offense, we all saw it, would it surprise you if I told you that last year's Tennessee offense ranked 12th in scoring, 15th in yardage? So we're saying 12th. That's basically where they were last year.
You had Dylan Sampson having a all-time season
I'm
as a running back.
I'm surprised that when you ranked them, they were that high last year. They didn't.
I didn't think they would.
Yeah, you also you got to remember it's a very easy schedule, right? So that's going to play a part into it. I don't think they're better now, and I saw the +7 on that from last season. I don't think that's the right move. But I think the offense is too high. I think the defense might be a little too high as well. Let's see that you can just reload after losing all of the players that you've lost on the defensive side of the football. You'll at least be very good. Will you be top 10
I'm also
in the nation
concerned.
good?
I'm also concerned about Jermod McCoy's injury. When does he come back, and is he 100%?
Yes.
Vince, are they too high, too low on offense, defense, or are they just right?
Yeah, they're too high on offense for sure. Some of those numbers. Remember how out of this world those numbers were offensively to start the year. So I think those some pad some of your numbers towards the totality. I think there's questions across the board. The unknown is Joey Aguilar offensively. And defensively, I think it's closer to being what you expect from this team because they were one of the best in the country for a good part of the year. I still think they can sustain in the front seven. Yeah. And then Jermod McCoy is the wild card in the back end. How quickly can you get him back?
I agree with safeties too.
I think if one of those numbers turns out to be closer to right, I think it will be the defensive number, and I also agree that I think McCoy is going to be a big part of that.
Right.
If he comes back and he's what he was last year, okay, your corners are going to be good, your linebackers may be improved, and you've lost depth, but you still got a pretty good defensive line.
Look, you could get there offensively as well if Tempo's back and Joey Aguilar fits. I just don't know that Tempo's going to be back, and Joey Aguilar defenses may have caught up with Tempo. So, but right now, I think it's possible that you could still have a top 12 defense in college football. You brought Josh Heupel into Tennessee to have a top 12 defense in college football.
Yeah. All right.
Well, you do have ETSU on your schedule.
Well, I mean,
you can run up them numbers,
but they ran up those numbers early. I have a feeling they'll do the same this year. It's the benefit of having East Tennessee State and the Kent States of the world on your schedule every year. When we come back, the latest on Zakai Ziegler's fight versus the NCAA, and now the Department of Justice. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. Summer is the time for travel. You can travel worry-free with a Safety Systems security system protecting your home. You'll be able to keep watch on your phone or tablet while also being able to turn on lights, lock doors, etc., all while thousands of miles away, depending on how far you travel, of course. Safety Systems. Get in touch with VFL J.J. Surlis and his team this week, or you can visit safetysystems.com to learn more about this great company. A couple of weeks ago, Zakai Ziegler sued the NCAA for a fifth year of eligibility. The NCAA fought back. Ziegler's attorney said in court on Friday that Ziegler intended to return to UT and that he had a spot on the team waiting for him should he get that clearance. Analysis by Spire Sports suggests he could make $4 million if he plays another year at UT. Wow. This was in the court case Friday. But in a bit of a surprise, the U.S. Department of Justice last week weighed in on the case to support the NCAA side of this. They suggested that the NCAA's rules are vital to college sports and they do not violate antitrust rules. Chuck, I'll start with you. Thoughts on Ziegler having to deal with a double team from not only the NCAA, but also the DOJ?
Well, he had a lot of pressure on him to be a Tennessee, part of the equation to beat the NCAA again, right? I mean, there's a pretty good track record there. I was kind of surprised it was filed. I don't think he's going to win it. I mean, hadn't he benefited as well from the NIL as just about anybody on that campus in a lot of ways now?
That's why he wants another year.
That's why. Well, and look at, he's already got a job for 3 years, an assistant coach on the basketball team. I just think, in a way I can see that you file it and hope you get it, but I'm just kind of surprised, and I don't think you will win it.
I think before the Department of Justice filed this this briefing, there was not a scenario he was going to lose this because it does violate U.S. antitrust law. What the Department of Justice did was ask the judge to take a flexible view of antitrust law and consider that if all these athletes get a fifth year of eligibility, it could cause damage to the schools, which hurts their ability to compete. So, from what the judge said Friday, most people that I know in the legal field, most attorneys I know, believe the judge is going to grant the injunction because that's not the case. He's going to win the lawsuit, but it's like Osuna with baseball. It's not about the lawsuit. What he needs is an injunction to be able to practice and play now. Otherwise, it might be 8 months down the road before this suit ever gets going. And at that point, does Zakai want to wait a year off and then come back and play another year? I don't know that that's the case.
I just think this is the next one to fall. We've talked about it on the show for a while. I don't understand how you can have a rule. If you can't have a rule that says we can't stop you from transferring, and we can't even stop a kid from Wisconsin from transferring outside of the transfer portal. We can't do any of that. But we can tell you only get 4 years. You get 5 years to play 4.
Cam Rising can play 9, but you can't play 5.
Who says this?
Yeah.
I don't see where the NCAA has the power to say that. If I'm, Blutarski at Animal House and I want to be there for 8 years, I can be there for 8 years.
Yeah, but he had
And
the
if you
bad
can play-
grade point average.
Yeah, and if you can play basketball for 8 years, how is the NCAA going to say, no, you don't get to make that money? We're taking this opportunity to make money away from you. I think a judge somewhere is going to step in and say eventually, hey, Casey Clausen's back at Tennessee for his 23rd year. What a quarterback legend he's been. I think you're going to get to that point. Jimmy.
Yeah, where does it stop? If you give them a 5th year, are they going to go
Exactly.
to 6 years?
That's what I'm saying.
And here's from several people at the SEC spring meetings, it was interesting. There were several coaches were saying, yeah, I'm in favor of 5 years, but not right now. Like Bruce Pearl said, hey, if we do this right now with him, I got 8 seniors that left my program. They can't all come back. My roster is full, so I can't have those guys come back. But down the road, I think it'd be a good idea. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the league, SEC, said they had this discussion in 92 and 97 when he was in the Southland Conference. It never made it to the doorstep of the NCAA. Mike Shula brought it up when he was Alabama coach. Sankey's in the SEC then. It never made it. So Sankey said, this item, I have put it aside.
Yeah, well,
So he doesn't support it.
there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't talked about when Mike Shula was the coach at Alabama in 2006 or 92.
Really.
There's a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
going on today that would have never been talked about or made it to the NCAA then.
Exactly. The landscape has
Yes.
changed dramatically. So he may be saying, I'm putting it aside. He may not be able to put it
If the
aside much
injunction
longer.
gets read,
He
he doesn't get to put it aside.
Yeah, he may
right?
put it aside and then somebody else throws it in his lap.
Yeah.
So again, that's Greg Sankey.
But that's the thing to always look at. It isn't about who wins the lawsuit, because it's probably the key for the players that it doesn't even go to a lawsuit. They get an injunction immediately saying, you are stopping me from earning money as an adult citizen of the United States.
Yeah.
If they get the injunction, they win. And if they don't get the injunction, early 26, you go to trial.
I'm floored that no one has come into this yet and said, there are no eligibility rules.
Yeah.
And that'll be the next one. Why do I have to go to class? But seriously, why is there a set number of years?
Yes.
What is that?
To me, that's
No other
the
student
collective
on
bargaining
campus
is
has
the
that.
only way to save that aspect of it, or you will have
Yeah.
a 34-year-old who can't play NFL football
That's
but is
right.
in their 13th year of college
Exactly.
football.
Casey Clausen is the perfect example for me.
Yeah.
If you could have kept Casey Clausen here for years and years and years, well, we got a 10th year quarterback. We got an advantage on your freshman. I think a lot of schools would say, stay.
Yeah.
Tell me, if Vanderbilt could keep Diego Pavia for another 5 or 6 years, I think they'd probably do it if they could.
And what happens then is probably mid-majors become the minor leagues. I will tell you, there is one non-revenue sport where coaches have already started planning. We are going to put these players into Tennessee Tech, UTC, Charleston Southern. You'll play for a year or two, your body will develop, and then we'll call you up to the SEC after that.
Baseball, I would assume?
It is baseball, yes.
Okay. When we come back, should Tennessee take a page from Texas Tech? What if someone offers Carlin Pickens crazy NIL money? Schools are going to have to be choosing now what they do with their non-revenue sports, and that's all but 2 sports on campus. Would softball be the right place to invest? We'll discuss this. Come on. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. If you're finding yourself spending more time at home, then you better make sure your home is more fun. How do you do that? You go to Games and Things because, well, let's just talk about tables for a second. Like card tables, pool tables, ping pong tables, foosball tables, air hockey tables. That's a lot of tables. Plus, they've got stand-up arcade games, they got darts, they got everything you could possibly want to turn your home into the entertainment capital of whatever your street name is. Games and Things, because life should be fun, and folks, they can do that for you. Check them out, ourgameroom.com. All right, back with Chuck, Jimmy, and Bob. Quick one for you here. Texas Tech made it all the way to the finals of the Softball World Series this year after paying $1 million to a pitcher who transferred in from Stanford. Tennessee, of course, has a star in pitcher, Carlin Pickens. Let's say someone offered her 1.5 million. Should Tennessee pony up? And why I'm asking that is softball is a sport where $1 million goes farther. You get one great pitcher, as Texas Tech did, you're almost guaranteed the College World Series. So if you're sitting there at Danny White or at some other school and you're trying to debate, none of these sports make money. But if I want to use my non-revenue sports to be an advertisement, be on ESPN for a month, okay, maybe that's softball. If it's about championships, okay, maybe it's this or that. Do you look at softball as a bang for your buck sport and say, I only have to spend $1 million to be good here, and I can put the rest of that to football and basketball, my money sports? How do you look at that?
I would go with the idea, because when was the last time Texas Tech was in the news, sports-wise? And Alabama made a huge jump scholastically and as far as its student population because of their football team. I'm not comparing the two by any stretch of the imagination. And that was the reason, because everybody was talking about Alabama all the time. And if one player for $1 million, and softball is the sport that if you've got the best pitcher, you're probably one of the best 4 or 5 teams in the country, I think that would be a brilliant move to do that.
I have thought about this and debated it both ways when you first mentioned this. There is some, if you've got that great pitcher, it's not just getting to the Women's College World Series, you can win it. Mm-hmm. You win a championship. Yeah. Tennessee just won a baseball championship for the first time in, 15 years in any sport, and look at the parade they threw. Look how excited people were. Softball is one of the fastest growing sports as far as viewership popularity.
And up until 2 years ago, it always drew more than the men's baseball World Series on television.
So after mulling this over, I'd give $1 million to get the best pitcher, and that pitcher could be Pickens because she is that good, mm-hmm. To keep her, because I think there is great value in winning a national championship and getting the additional exposure you get from playing in the Women's College World Series.
Well, and one way I looked at it, John, I mean, you're a great marketing guy, and you always have been. Look at the exposure you're getting on ESPN. Look at how compelling some of those games were. Goodness gracious, there were like 4 walk-offs in the first 9 games. And then, they were all just, it was just, watched some of them for the first time, even though it wasn't Tennessee playing. If you were going to give it to somebody, Pickens, I bet a lot of fans like me wondered, I wonder how much she is getting on it now, because she talked about how happy she is here. She adores being a Lady Vol. She loves the community. Yes, that would be the perfect one that I would, and I think you would get a return on your investment.
And that's the perfect sport.
There are other
the perfect sport.
Yeah, now there are other variables here. You just spent all kinds of money upgrading your baseball facility. So you can't. Tennessee isn't just going to ignore baseball. So we're talking about just University X out there. You may be at LSU. You may have some singular superstar like Livy Dunn and say gymnastics. That's where we're going to get eyeballs. Now, I don't think you're getting anywhere near the eyeballs on SEC Network as you do with softball or baseball on ESPN during the playoffs, during the tournament, the World Series. Right. But it is interesting. These schools are going to have to start thinking about this because I want to take as little away as possible from my 2 revenue sports, football and men's basketball, until there's some formula that everybody agrees on, and Lord knows if that'll ever come. But until that comes, if I can keep one of my programs really good by spending less, I think that's my choice. I think that's where I spend more of my money. I think I target that person. That person's going to have $1 million. And if my baseball coach says, well, I need $1 million for this guy, can you guarantee, can that guy pitch 3 days in a row?
Yeah.
I don't think so. If you have the best pitcher, one player in softball can make the biggest difference in that particular sport.
There's no other sport that compares, I don't think.
Right. I mean, Paul Skeens at LSU was fantastic, but you also needed other pitchers because you can't pitch every day.
That's right.
So, one pitcher, one player can make more difference in softball than any other college
and
sport.
even though Texas Tech didn't win it all, they got there. We're in the finals, and before the final game, they thought enough of it. She got another $1 million endorsement, right?
No, but I just come back to Texas Tech has not been in the sports scene for quite a while. Occasionally they get there. Probably since Mike Leach was there.
I was about to say probably the last time they get there, it wasn't good. It was when Mike Leach had Craig James kid.
When he locked him up in the shed.
Even when they had Patrick Mahomes, you didn't hear that much about it.
Really.
No. So you've gotten more pub. Now, granted, again, football pub is still different than softball pub.
Exactly.
But they have been in the spot. If you look at it and say, we spent $1 million on her, was she worth it?
Well, I mean, it's May and June pub.
Yeah.
which is something else.
And
too.
who's to say with Pickens, she may
Competition's
say, I
not
don't need $1 million, but I'll take 500,000. You know,
Well,
that
I
wouldn't
mean,
surprise me either.
Yeah, well, the Karen Weekly fans of the world should be happy with this. Put this on tape and send it over to Karen and let her know that we're trying to help her with her NIL. Okay. Thanks to Chuck, Jimmy, Bob for coming in today. Vince and Will are coming back out here. Have you been to Covenant Park yet? The new downtown Knoxville baseball stadium. I went this week. Turns out Will West went this week. Vince has been. We're going to give you our reviews. And let me tell you, it exceeded my expectations. How much? Find out when we come back. We'll show you some video too. Come on back. And welcome back into the Sports Source. Folks, if you like this show and you've watched it for many years, which I appreciate, obviously we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't have the sponsors we have that never turn over if you weren't watching us and visiting them. Can't say thanks enough, and because of that, we try to give you a little bit more content. So basically, you can keep up with us here on Sundays. You can watch us throughout the week on the Sports Source Digital Network. We've always got something going up there. A lot of SEC topics coming up this coming week. Vince, Bob, David Ubben, we chatted. Gambling show with Chuck and Tyler over there. Will, you dropped in last week. And then, of course, we also put stuff right here at 11 a.m. on WATE, the Saturday kickoff. So you can hang with the Sports Source all week long, and I appreciate you doing so. I had a friend in town this week. Let's go ahead and show you the video. I had a friend in town this week, and we went over to Covenant Park and the new downtown home of the Smokies, and I got to say, I was absolutely blown away. Now, this literally this was shot on a phone. This was not a phone with the special handle and everything. This was literally just I'm showing somebody some pictures, and I thought, we'll use it on the screen today. I was blown away. The level. I was thinking, this would be a nicer version of Smokies Park from Kodak. It is not that. This was like a major league park that's been shrunk down a little bit and put right in downtown Knoxville. All the amenities, and the thing I want to mention first of all, Randy Boyd makes a point. He wants it to be known as the friendliest ballpark in America, and everyone I saw, every single person in a Smoky shirt over there, smiling, friendly, helpful. I noticed it coming out of there and mentioned it to a couple of people, and that's where I was told that, yes, Randy wants it to be the friendliest ballpark. Mission accomplished. I was blown away. Gentlemen, I know you went over there. You've been there before. That's what they do when they hit a home run for the Smokies, the light show. Will, I'll start with you. You were over there this week, too.
Yeah, I was there Thursday for the first game. I've been there for other events, but I hadn't been for a game yet. Was there Thursday for the game. Blown away. What I love about it is it's new school in the right ways and old school in the right ways.
Yeah.
That's what I like. And you can choose what kind of experience you want to have there as well. I mean, do you want to be right behind home plate? Do you want to be up in the
Club
up in the
seats,
box?
yeah.
Do you want to be down the sideline and you've got areas for your kids to be able to play?
You got a loop you can walk.
Yes.
It's over the creek there that you can see back in.
It's incredible. Yeah, you can do a walk around the entire stadium. So we saw one family that they had a baby and the baby was crying. So mom just took the baby in the stroller all the way around the loop and the baby fell asleep, came back and sat in their seats. Like it was just, kids could run around if you feel safe and it's in the middle of downtown Knoxville that's happening. It is fantastic, and it blew me away. Yeah,
you had kid zones down there and everything, too. And every 5 feet, there's another concession stand. And it's not just like, it's like a major league park.
Yes.
Whereas, if you want this kind of beer here, if you want this kind of food here, it's not just Coke and a dog,
Dogs, nachos, pretzels.
It's a lot of different stuff. Vince, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I went as well. So impressed. Loved just the fact that there's no bad seats in there for the fans.
Yeah.
Anywhere you decide, depending on your experience, is a really good seat. Love the 360. You know what has that? And that's Omaha. And that's one of the that's a really unique feature. They also have something that just a couple of major league franchises have in their stadiums. The mound drops down on one button below ground, and that's how they're able to transform it for soccer, for Knoxville SC.
And they already had a big crowd in there for a soccer game already, I believe, and you can do that for concerts as well, because it's not just Smokies Park, Knoxville. And look, we're all paying into that to some extent with taxes and everything else. I'm happy to have done so.
I agree.
That's when I walked out of there proud that was in Knoxville. It was that impressive to me. I wished that we had had more visionary leadership 30 years ago. We could have enjoyed it down there. I would have been a younger man who would have taken advantage of it far more often. But I can't say enough good things, having looked at everything. And you guys nailed it. If you wanted to look at season tickets, for example, I don't know where I'd want them. Well, I like this angle and these tabletops. Well, I like the club seats. Well, I like the bar area out in right field. There are so many different options. It would almost be challenging to figure out what the best option is. And of course that changes if you got kids, don't have kids, whatever. Yeah. But I was mightily impressed.
You can customize your experience to what you want, to whether the kids are with you or not with you. Fun for everybody. And you're right, what you said about the staff, that's what blew me away, was how immediate and helpful the staff is. They are right there. They're not on top of you, but there's every 3 feet there is someone you can speak to ask any question, and they're more than happy to help.
And it stands out to me because you don't see it this much in the world anymore. You can tell they're proud to be in there. I mean, there was just that twinkle in the eye that said, you having a good time? You liking it? What can we do for you? Right. It was pretty cool. So salute to them. And just for the record, not a paid endorsement in any way, shape, or form. You're not going to see Smokies out here. They're not an advertiser. I just want to give you the straight dope. I was impressed. You guys were impressed. Vince, Will, thanks for coming in here. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we will see you right back here next Sunday. See you on the Sports Source Digital Network all week.